Hello, Lawrence.
Hello. How
My
you doing,
friend,
Anna?
you are staying in Germany, which is
I am.
freaking awesome.
Yeah, they gave me the permanent residency.
Uh,
That's the news for this week.
that's the news for this week. Thank you very much for tuning in and see you guys next time. No, I'm
Wow.
very glad that I have you still in the German boat and I'm still having you here in the news site. And yeah, the candidates tournament is over.
It is.
Some more
My
melted.
guess didn't quite work out, but it was close, huh?
It
I
was pretty
mean,
close,
it was
yes.
good value. I still stand by that. A couple of weeks ago when we did the show, we
Uh,
said
Anish
Penny Fury,
Anish was
great value.
very, very close. It's true. It's
Yeah,
true. It's true. Yeah. In
yeah,
one of two cases could have turned around differently, maybe. Right. Anyway,
definitely. Yeah.
let us take a look what
Hmm.
there is in the news
Okay.
because there is a couple of things too. Do you want to start? I'm not sure who started last
Yeah.
week.
I mean,
Wait, is this? Yeah, it's English. Yeah, yeah. The ChessBase magazine came out too, but that's
oh right.
that's
Yeah, get
more
that,
news.
everybody.
Yeah.
The chess-based magazines are very, very good.
I didn't even know it that much. So I just started to really get closer to it this year, and wow, I finally understand what that is. It's a. I don't want to spoil all the news about it, but it is like it's an updated version of everything about chess with analysis, with openings, with endgames. With grandmasters are talking about different games which have been played in the last month.
Yeah,
It's a really good news. For what happened in chess with deeper analysis. Yeah, that
yeah.
was my part. Okay, it's your turn.
Okay, I mean, there was some obviously talking about the candidates and something that is some very, I would say, unfortunate news that has come from the candidates. We'll talk very briefly about the candidates. Obviously, congratulations to Jan Nepomniachtchi. Jan, who was leading after the halfway point, managed to come through. And there were a few interesting talking points to reflect on from the candidates.
Yeah.
When it comes to Jan's victory, I just want to mention that Jan, his talent has never been in doubt. He's always been one of the best, but it was consistency of his play that was lacking from his game. And finally, he found some consistency. He didn't go on tilt. He didn't self implode. And I think that's what makes Jan a very dangerous opponent.
Mm-hmm.
He's capable of beating anybody, but if he manages just to not self sabotage, which he has done in numerous tournaments over the years, he's very dangerous, and that's a sign of maturity. It's a sign of him being more professional, and he absolutely deserves to win this tournament and play Magnus, which should be a very exciting match.
Yeah.
Anish, big mention to Anish, came close, was put in a very tough situation where he basically had to beat Grishchuk with black and then risked it and ended up losing. Also, MBL, a very, very hard tournament for MBL because he was leading after the first half, and then there was the big interruption, and he was playing phenomenal chess in the first half, and I feel like the break definitely didn't help MVL. And then to come back and lose that game against Fabiano, the first game back, was very, very tough. So,
So true.
big disappointment for MBL. But they'll be back, MBL, Anish, and obviously some other big disappointments in the tournament. Ding, even though he finished very strong, was never in it. Grishchuk was very average. Alexienko was never in it. Fabi was just, he played solidly, he played decently, but he didn't have that extra gear.
Yeah.
And then the player I want to talk about, who doesn't get enough attention really, is Wang Hao.
There he
And
is.
and there he is. And unfortunately, we received the news that he has decided to retire from professional chess. He's only 31 years old, but he's been suffering from some health problems. I don't know exactly what those health problems are, if they're stress related or not.
Mm.
But he did mention in this small interview that it was stress that was hurting him. And I think people have to understand if just how much tension one has to suffer in these games of chess. especially when there's a political aspect to your
Oh
participation.
yeah.
Pressure from governments, pressure from your local regions, pressure from sponsors. It's not just sitting down at a table and playing a game of chess. There's a lot more to it than perhaps some people realize.
Mm.
And so it's very sad news to see Wang Hao retiring. Apparently, he's still going to work in chess, maybe doing some coaching and whatnot. Maybe he said he was going to maybe do some investing, so maybe he's got a bit of money aside now where he can just survive. He doesn't need money from chess.
Well, that would be wishful for him, right? There's one thing to not worry about anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this interview was like, wow, it was a bit heartbreaking because he's also like he's such a cute person.
He's a nice
such
guy.
A polite,
he's so nice
sweet person.
It's really nice to see a top Chinese player speak very good English as well, which is also nice. He's a very solid, hard, tough player. And he's not the first. That's the other thing I wanted to mention.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's not the first to retire as a result of stress-related health issues. I mean, another person that comes to mind is Ian Rogers, Grandmaster Ian Rogers from Australia.
Oh, I didn't know.
Retired. Yeah, Ian retired as a result, I think, of something very similar. Just the stress was just too much and can lead to heart conditions and all kinds of stuff. And yeah, some doctors just say you shouldn't be playing this professionally. It's just too hard for you. So that's a shame to see that with Wang Hao. But, luckily for China, they've got a whole host of fantastic young talents. I don't think Wang Hao ever had the X factor to become world champion. But some of the other guys for sure have. I mean, Ding, for example, still has got something special. He's still very, very young. So.
Yeah, and it's so funny because his first half he had, I think I saw it up there for whatever reason, by the way. Yeah, he had 2.5 points in the first half, but he got 4.5 in the second half. So as many as Maxime Vachier-Lagrave and Nepomniachtchi got in the first half. So that is something special too again, because I didn't even think that he would just like get his 3 points, maybe 3.5, but he got 4.5. Okay, of course there was this last game, and that's one thing you mentioned too, because Ian, he had nothing to lose anymore in the last round, so I guess he. Without big fear, he just played it, whatever he. You mean
against
like.
Ding?
Yes, exactly. So
the last game was. I mean, once you've won the tournament, you lose all of the tension from your body, and it's almost like you just don't care, right? Because there's no difference between finishing second and ninth. The only difference is financially. Actually, there was a big disparity financially. I think MBL won like 93,000 in second, and so there were tens of thousands of euros. They weren't playing for that, right? They were playing for the World Championship ticket. So, so sad story. Basically.
A little sad. It's true. Lawrence, did you ever win a tournament where you already knew you won the tournament, although there was another round to play?
Must have. I mean, for sure.
Yeah.
I can't remember when that was, but yeah, for sure.
So how is your psychology, or how can't even speak out the word, but what is your mindset if you do not have anything to lose in the last round? Are you going for like, I'm just having fun now, or would you go like, I'll play as solid as possible so I'm getting this draw and have like this half point extra on top?
Well, I mean, that's the whole. I mean, it does. That's the point, right? It doesn't really. I mean, really, you should play as best as you could anyway. There might be elo points on the line. You might affect the standings for everybody else. So you can't just lose on purpose or just be lazy. But of course, it's very difficult to drum up the motivation to play 100% when you know you've won the tournament. I can't remember. It's been so long since I've been in that situation. I can't even remember.
You'll get there again.
I don't know. You're more
Yeah.
optimistic than me. I don't see me winning a tournament with 1 round to go anytime soon, but who
Yeah,
knows?
I would bet high on you. Let's say it like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're the
So
one.
the candidates, they are over. We are looking forward. Do you know when it starts
Oh,
again? I just
by the
want.
way,
Yeah.
I want to mention that apparently there is going to be a candidates next year already
Oh yeah. That's
because there was the 1 year break, so they're trying to get it back on schedule. So that's very interesting. So we don't have to wait long for
and
another.
who will participate? Will
I
it
don't know how
be?
it's going to work. I don't know the proposal. I don't know how
Yeah.
they're going to find the guys. I just don't know. So more
Yeah.
details
Okay.
will be revealed.
That's the reveal, and that's it for now. Yeah,
Okay.
that's interesting. What I just wanted to mention is, do you know when Nepomniachtchi will face Magnus? Is it end of this
November.
year? November,
November.
yes, yeah. So we will talk about this in November, of course, again. But
Of course.
from this point of state we are. It's almost May. Who do you think, Nepomniachtchi or Carlsen?
Well, as I said, I think Magnus will win the match in the end, but I think it's going to be a very rocky affair. I think Magnus is going to be on the ropes quite a few times in the match because Jan has actually got a plus score against Magnus in classical
Crazy,
chess.
right? Yeah.
So he doesn't fear Magnus. He respects Magnus, but he doesn't fear Magnus. And the other thing is that Nepomniachtchi is a very tricky, very creative player. We're going to see a very different match, for example, compared to Karyakin against Carlsen, where there were 1,000 draws, or even Fabi against Carlsen, right, which was
even more draws.
very draw heavy. I think this one is going to be, there are going to be a lot of more decisive results. And I think Jan is going to win at least one game in the classical portion. So it's going to be a big test for Magnus, but I think Magnus, remember, and Jan have worked together. Jan has been a second of Magnus for preparing for World Championship matches. So Jan knows a lot of Magnus's weaknesses. Magnus knows a lot of Jan's weaknesses. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they prepare for each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Magnus will prevail, yes.
You said so last year. It's going to be the most interesting matchup. And I think from what you said last time on the show is, yes, I agree with that too. I think it's going to be really fairly interesting. What I'm thinking of sometimes is it seems as if Magnus doesn't fear any opponent. Like, I think he has this mindset that he's going like, it's fine. But Nepomniachtchi might be the least person he would like to play against in this.
Nepomniachtchi or Fabiano still. I think Fabiano would still give Magnus big problems in the match.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So, what I found quite interesting, a pretty long article from Siegfried Honecker. Many cooks spoil the study. I don't want to give too much away about this article. It's quite long. It's quite a nice read. But what I thought was interesting, it talks about... let me ask you one question first. Do you think that chess in the world, is it a niche?
What do you mean?
Is it something where it's still that little compared to, well, let's say football, for example?
Well, it is. I mean, compared to other big sports or games, it's still,
It's fairly little, right?
It's fairly little.
But there's, of course, so many variations from having bug house or computer chess or even the different time controls. And one of the niches, and this is what this article is about the composers and the people who have who are making studies and endgame studies in particular. And it's a small amount of people, and they commit their life of using their brains, also the computers or the help of table bases and other tools to work out how to solve a chess problem. And it's pretty fascinating because chess problems are so deep in itself, and even with
Right.
this little amount of pieces, there is so many different
Incredible.
things to.
Yeah.
Oh, let me actually. I wanted to. Oh yeah, this is for later. Later, yeah, I will
Okay.
show something later. Here are a couple of studies which I highly recommend actually to look at, because when I started to look at this article and looked at the studies,
Right.
it was actually pretty fascinating, pretty
Yeah, it is.
interesting.
Yeah.
There's one fun fact, because Hans Gruber and Volker Gülke are investigating and are talking about the cooks, more about it in this article. But of course, Hans Gruber, I read this name and I thought, like, wait a second, well, how do I know this name? And then I was like, of course I know this name, because it's the evil villain in the Die Hard movies with Bruce Willis, played by.
I didn't actually realize that.
Yeah, I remember this name so
That's funny.
much, because it's, I mean, Die Hard is just this amazing
course,
movie.
yeah.
But that was like, wait a second, Hans Gruber, yeah, that is his name.
That's so funny.
They're talking about how to use the engines, how problems can be solved, and how wrong suggestions are sneaking through much more often than you would think of. So
Really?
here was here was a white move to win considered, and it was incorrect because there are other variations. And it's such an interesting, and on one point, for me, it is a weird topic because I'm just not part of it that much. I'm a nerd with a lot of other things like board games and pixel art.
Right.
That is my thing, which makes me a bit weird. We're all weird in the end, which is nice. It's a very nice, well-written article. The studies are interesting, and it gives this beautiful insight about the scene, or this tribe of how problems are solved, how they're getting solved, what the obstacles are, and what the solutions are for them. Yeah. So I highly recommend it. I remember the last time when we were talking about studies and problem solving, that you yourself did never really make a study, or you're also not that much into solving then, but you're doing the tactics, of course. And
so I was never good at solving studies. I didn't dedicate a lot of time to it, but some people just seem to be phenomenal at it. Obviously, there are the studying or composing world championships. And in England, we've got some incredible problem solvers: John Nunn, Jonathan Mestel, Graham McDowell, like world champions through and through. Even David Hodge, who nobody will know, he's an ex-teammate of mine for England. He was good at solving stuff. And they all tend to be, by the way, they all have something super in common that I've just realized. They're all super maths geniuses. John Nunn went to Oxford at whatever age, like one of the youngest guys ever to go to Oxford. Jonathan Mestel, I believe, teaches maths at university. He's a professor at Cambridge, I think. David Hodge was a super genius. That's again another guy who went to university at like 14 or 15. So they are all have in common. There's probably something to do with pattern recognition, spatial recognition, deduction, everything you like, just core mathematical traits and mathematician traits. So they're all maths geniuses, which doesn't surprise me actually.
That seems to be a very, very helpful way of getting to understand certain positions much quicker than the average person.
Indeed.
Yeah, so that's a nice article. I just wanted to quickly move over it. It was fun and entertaining to read and take a look at some of the positions, because they seem clear in the very beginning, as it so often is. But for example, this is just like one of the nicest ones in my opinion. So you're thinking about moving the rook in this direction, or the queen somewhere differently, or to move a pawn, stuff like that, or the king. And you just have to find the correct solution here. It takes a bit longer. I actually don't know the answer to this yet, but it's just so complex and it's fun.
It's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing how rich they are, and it's a beautiful thing. But
it is.
It's
a niche. It's a niche in a niche.
You know, People should check it out for sure.
Lawrence,
yes.
What else can we talk about?
Well, another article I saw that was very interesting was this one, Fischer, Karpov, and Korchnoi. So in the middle.
Oh yeah. That's a beautiful one.
Yeah, so it's one of the eternal questions. So the article was written by Stefan Platz, who, the article is his opinion on what would have happened if Fischer hadn't retired. So I won't reveal what he thinks and so on, but I'll give you my thoughts. So basically at that time, so Fischer wins the World Championship in 1970. He also talks, by the way, about the match in 1972. He believes that Spassky made a big mistake by not basically... So Spassky accepted all of the new conditions that Fischer asked for, and he thinks Spassky made a big mistake conceding everything.
Many think of that, right? Or
and if so, Spassky would have been world champion. Now, let's think of a chess world with Spassky as world champion. Okay, beating Fischer, we would not be where we are. Okay, Fischer winning the world championship, I think it's a fairly safe bet to say that him winning the world championship had a much greater net positive effect on the development and growth of chess than Spassky winning. Fischer winning brought international attention, it brought Western attention, it brought the concept of sponsorship and real money into chess. And had Spassky won, it would still be this kind of cliquey Soviet-dominated sport. And then it would have been Spassky against Karpov, Spassky against Korchnoi, and it would have just remained in the East. And the entire course of chess would have been altered, right? There would be no Kasparov. Well, Kasparov exist, but Kasparov, would there be a Kramnik? Would there be a Karls? Well, everything would have changed. And look where we are now with chess. I feel like it's very difficult to imagine a world where chess would be better now than if we had Spassky as beating Fischer.
Very interesting thought experiment.
Yeah, it's a thought experiment, of course. That's all it is. We can't prove anything. But he then talks about what would have happened if there was a Fischer versus Karpov match in 1975 as originally planned. I personally think that Fischer would have won that match, but I think it would have been extremely tough. Lots and lots of holds by Karpov, and Fischer against Korchnoi as well. They actually played a few games earlier in their career, and would Fischer have defeated Korchnoi? Probably. But of course, the entirety of history would have been altered, and it's a nice thought experiment, not much more than that. But I think that in general, of course, the entire story of Bobby Fischer is quite a tragedy in many ways. I've had the pleasure of, I was there for the what's it called, the premiere of the most recent film. What was it called? Goodness, I've forgotten the name.
No, I don't know it either at the moment.
Pawn Sacrifice, that's the one.
Yes. I see. Okay.
I was there for the premiere in St. Louis. I believe. Was it 2014? No, that can't be right. Was it 2014?
It was in one of the last 5-6 years.
Maybe it wasn't in St. Louis. Bobby Fischer against the world, maybe it was. In any case, I've got... because there have been a lot of films finding Bobby Fischer, searching for Bobby Fischer. It was this one, Liz Garbus. Yeah, Bobby Fischer against the world.
Oh, okay.
So actually, I wasn't in St. Louis for that. I was in London, but that was a very, very nice film. Can we imagine? And then this one, Tobey Maguire playing Bobby Fischer.
Yeah, it was nice. I didn't see Tobey Maguire too close to Fischer. His acting performance was very good, in my opinion.
Yeah, in Pawn Sacrifice, yeah.
But I think I would have casted somebody else, probably.
Okay.
I don't know. Probably somebody taller.
Well, you've got the acting experience, so you've got real you can talk about these things with
and
authority, right?
and I
You didn't.
still analyze the movies too like that. So it's like it's always sneaking in a little bit of like, the colors are a bit. The set is set up a bit weird. Maybe they could have improved the audio, stuff like that. Yes, I've watched a lot of movies. Damn. Anyway, yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, anyway, so just to kind of summarize, the article. It's an interesting article. You can arrive at your own conclusions. I recommend reading it, but ultimately, I think we are in a much better position now, thanks to Spassky losing that match.
we are, yes. Others may not. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Because whatever is good for us may not be that good for others. Oh yeah, 18 comments. I didn't even see that. There's a lot of discussion. Of course, it's a triggering.
And there is no right or wrong answer because it's just a thought experiment and there's no way to
Exactly.
ever find out. But that's just intuitively what I think.
Yeah. It's yes. I'm thinking while I'm just reading already, or just while you're talking about this. Yes, it is definitely food for some thought, which I always like. So I'm already, while we're having the show, I'm spinning thoughts in my head about this. Yeah, it's definitely worth a read. It's a good point. Was featured for a long time and for a good reason, of course, because why not? Why not think about that and take a look at these things? Then what else do we have? Let me check. Oh yeah, exactly. I wanted to talk. I believe you wanted to talk about the new in chess classic as well.
Yeah, I was going to briefly talk about.
Yeah, let's briefly talk about this, because now at this very moment we are in the mini matches and they will continue today.
Correct.
And Levon, Mr. Aronian, where did that come from? I mean, of course, he's one of the best players in the world. No doubt about that. But that he's managing to not only reach the KO and the semifinals in the end, he won against Wesley So. Like, it was even only decisive matches. That was a bit of a surprise for me. And now he's eye to eye with Magnus, which is another surprise for me. I mean, yeah, of course, today Magnus will probably win. That's what most of the people think. But Levon is a huge threat at the moment.
Well, yeah, you never know. Firstly, it's not clear that Magnus will win. Levon can play some really inspiring chess. He has a very poor score against Magnus in recent years in general. Magnus really has got the best of Levon. But anything can happen. These are rapid games.
In the end, yes.
And, Levon has got a chance, why not? I think in the other match, I think Shaq is finding it very difficult to deal with Hikaru Nakamura. Hikaru really seems to be excelling in these 15-minute formats. Obviously, he's an exceptional blitz player online. He's online every day. He's streaming online every day. He's very used to online. Shaq has been very, very inactive comparatively. Shaq has, he's played a few tournaments, but nothing like Hikaru. And I fully expect Hikaru to actually to win today and go to the final. And I think the most likely result, of course, is that we get a Carlsen Nakamura final, which will bring huge amounts of attention.
Huge amounts of bonk cloud openings.
Yeah, well, that's something. I think we spoke about that briefly.
Yes,
I mean, it's a little bit silly. Once it's happened once, repeating it is really a little bit silly. But
I doubt they will go into the bonk clouds in the final. But
you'd be surprised.
You'd be surprised. You think it will happen?
I don't know. Probably not between these two, because I think it is just a little bit exaggerated now. But
I think so too. Yeah. I just also wanted to point out that Shaq, I didn't expect him to win against Ali Reza, because Ali Reza is also one of the best quick chess players out there. He's fascinatingly good in blitz. He's even better in bullet, and he's very, very good in the rapid matches too. But he got torn apart by Shaq. And that was a surprise for me because I would have thought that there could have been a final between maybe Magnus and Ali Reza. That was actually my opinion.
Well, yeah, I mean, Shaq is extraordinarily strong at rapid as well, and I'm not sure that Ali Reza is a huge favorite over Shaq. In fact, I'm not sure he is a favorite at all.
Huh.
Even I think at Blitz and Bullet, Ali Reza might be a favorite, but I think at Rapid, Shaq is probably still a favorite. So
let's talk about this position. It's just a quick one, which is nice and which I had to look twice. This is this position. So white just moved the king to b4. Can black win this, or is white the winner here? For you at home, probably you know the answer already because you all read the news already. If you haven't read the news and if you don't know the news in chess, actually white is winning here because, it's not a difficult puzzle, is it? No. We know that there is this, what is it called? It's not the cube.
Square.
The square, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So white's king is in the square, and there are positions where the pawns are so far apart or so close to getting into a queen that white cannot capture back. But here, if this is happening, white, of course, doesn't take the black pawn, but simply goes back. And even if this one is pushed forward, white is still in this so-called square. So white will always reach this pawn just on time. And I thought it's nice because you don't see it in the very first moment. And I'm thinking when this is going to be a game where there's only like a minute left, or let's say 30 seconds, I would feel super uneasy for white, but with a quick little analyze and understanding what is actually going on, you understand that this is a very, very good move to stop the pawns to advance a bit further. Now only one pawn can advance, and well, the king is going strong now, but these pawns will do the rest, right?
I think, and that's why, learning how to, the rule of the square, as it's called, as I teach my students, king and pawn endings is so important, because imagine you are, as you said, Arne, in a situation where you've got 30 seconds left. You don't want to have to say in your head, I go king there, he goes pawn there, I go king there, he goes pawn there. If you make one miscalculation, you could lose the game, right? So it's just much easier drawing a square in your head. So it's a square starting from where the pawn is. You draw it to the queening square, and then you make a square by just going the same distance to make a square, and then you can calculate. Then you don't have to calculate. You just know if the king is on the square or in the square, the king is in time, and if not, then it's winning. So.
Yeah. Endgames, my terrifying little weakness.
Tell me about it.
You mentioned this. And Elisabeth was recently, she's teaching me every week, and not only me, also all of you, the German customers or the German viewers, about chess. And it's fairly interesting. So if you are a club player, have a level of 1500 up to 2000, this might be mighty interesting for you. You'll learn something for sure. And we now also, just let me quickly move back and show this, make a little bit of advertisement for myself. We now have the exact same thing in the English version. Svetlana Demchenko, have you ever heard of that young woman before?
No.
Because nobody has, because she's just 17 years old. She's a Canadian Women International Master. And she has, played in the Olympiad at the age of 14 or 15, something like that, in 2018. Yes, must have been 14 or 15. And she played very, very well, together with Nemo, with Kyusu. And she's teaching since a couple of years already. So I
Okay.
thought, like, how about you are doing the same what Elizabeth is doing for me in German, and she's teaching me a lot about chess, and I learned a lot.
Hey,
And she's 17 years old,
she's
and she
super young.
has a lot of wisdom. And also, by the way, just besides that, she's just like a really cool person.
Cool.
Like
Great.
much
Check
much
that out.
you wouldn't expect her to be 17 years. You would expect her to be beginning of 20 or mid 20 from the way she's talking and interacting. It's very nice. Yeah,
That's great.
that just on a quick side note. So
Nice.
if you want to learn something, that's a nice way to learn.
That's great.
Yeah, Lawrence, anything else we
Not
haven't touched
really.
yet? I
I
think
mean, nothing. I think we've covered the major news for this week. Obviously,
yeah,
the candidates, the New Chess Classic, some of the other interesting articles. Another interesting article is actually No Rapid Chess, an interview with this Grivas, Greek grandmaster. I suggest reading that. Lots of interesting stuff. Grivas, very, very nice author, I should say. Knows a lot about chess. I've never met him actually, but he's certainly, yeah, and he's published apparently 110 books, which is insane.
unbelievable.
That's so many chess books.
He sent me the covers of majority of the books in as a
Yeah,
PDF, so I had to scroll down and
yeah,
see it all of them. And he's still publishing. All right,
yeah. He's still
so
publishing. So I mean,
unbelievable.
he's got some really good books out there.
Yeah, yeah,
So check that out. But yeah, I think we've covered the majority, and
yes.
we'll have
So
plenty more moving forward, starting yeah, next week. We'll see.
next week, yes, there's going to be May in next week already. So the chess season will never end. Luckily, that we already discovered last year. There's going to be events over events. May it be online or even more and more starting over the board again. And as you just mentioned, Grivas, he's playing in Dubai. He's living in Dubai. So they started a rapid tournament over the board. They have a restriction of 40 people max, and they're trying to take a lot of care that everything is correctly done with masks and being tested before every match, stuff like that. But yeah, so besides having our big build up on the online chess, we will also see more over the board chess. Will chess grow like this even more, or will it balance out? At the moment, this is online and this is over the board. Will it go like this,
Yeah.
or will it go like this?
I think that um, a lot depends on the vaccination situation globally. I think it's still going to take time. We're seeing over the board chess come back slowly, of course. Once there's a huge number of the population vaccinated, I think we'll see an immediate boom in over the board chess. I think people miss playing over the board. I think people miss going to tournaments. I think people miss the social aspect of chess, not just the competitive aspect. So we will see a surge in over the board activity. But we've also understood that we do live in a digital world and we do live in an online world, and that a lot of eyes are on online chess, online streamers, online tournaments, and that will not go. So I think there's going to be, if you plot it as a graph, there's just going to be still a very steady uptick in both online and over the board. And that's exciting. It's going to be chess growing either way. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back over the board as well. It's been a long time since I played a game of chess. Long time.
Yes, you will do this, and we will follow. I will ask you every week, how is your way going to become a grandmaster? Because
Well,
yes,
when I haven't again like properly started my training yet, because I want to get vaccinated and I want to have a clear idea like where I'm going to go first.
yeah.
At the moment, I kind of know the first tournament I'm going to play.
Oh,
I think that will give me the motivation to start. I'm still lacking the super motivation to get down and dirty and do it.
it's difficult because you're your own master to get
Yeah.
your own grandmaster soon. Oh God, now I'm just
Yeah.
done with the puns. Oh gosh.
Down with the bun. Yeah.
Lawrence,
Get motivated. Yeah.
that's it for the
Thank you
news.
so much. It is.
I hope you guys enjoyed it too at home. I wish all of you a lovely weekend. You too,
Yeah.
Lawrence, and we see each other next week.
Take care, guys. See you next week.
Bye bye.